You ever been down to New Orleans on a Saturday night? You know what I mean. Now, all through the week, they're quiet as a mouse, but on Saturday night, they go from house to house. You don't have to worry about paying admission if you're a cook, a waiter, or a good musician. So if you happen to be just passing by, stopping at the Saturday night fish fry, there was a rockin', there was a rockin'. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. There was a rockin', the joint was hopping. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. Now, me and the guys, we was hanging around. We was down to the Sugar Bowl and we went uptown. Thought we'd go get a bite to eat, so we swung on down to Rampart Street. The waitress there, she knew me well. Always called me Mr. Sunny Dell. Before you knew it, the blink of an eye, we're right in the middle of a big fish fry. Rockin', there was a rockin'. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. There was a rockin', the joint was hopping. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. Now listen here. Donna and I, we fell right in, and we hollered, "Let the joy begin!" We figured this was a good place to play, cause the party was already underway. Then all of a sudden, the lights went low, and everybody's making straight for the back door. I got so scared I didn't know where to go. I stood right there, and then I fell on the floor. There was a rockin', there was a rockin'. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. There was a rockin', the joint was hopping. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. Now pay attention here now. The women were screaming and jumping and yelling. The bottles were flying and the fish was smelling. Up above all the noise they made, somebody said, "Hey, you better get out of here. This is a raid." I didn't know we were breaking the law till somebody reached up and clipped me on the jaw. They had us surrounded from the front and the back, and they would load us in the wagon like potato sacks. There was a rockin'.
Oh, have I got a show for you tonight.
There was a rockin', the joint was hopping. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. Well, I figured I could get away if I had a chance. I was a-moving like I had St. Vitus dance. I tried to crawl under the bathroom tub, and the policeman said, "Hey, where you going, bub?" They had us surrounded from the house on fire, alone us in the back of that black Mariah. They might have missed a pitiful few, but they got me and the boys in the band too. Rockin', it was a rockin', woo! You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn.
You're listening to Trick Bag from Hamilton featuring Sonny Del Rio on the saxophone.
Now here's what happened. They took us to jail in a dazed condition. They booked each one of us on suspicion. My chick came down and went my bail and finally got me out of that rotten jail. You ever want to get a fist in the eye? Just mention a Saturday night fish fry. Cause I don't care how many fish in the sea. From now on, it's souvlaki for me. There was a rockin', there was a rockin'. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn. There was a rockin', the joint was hopping. You never seen such scuffle and trouble till the break of dawn.
So my suggestion to you would be the power of political correctness, the power of Islamophobia is so powerful that even when senior leaders are presented with clear evidence, they will still find ways to reject it, to justify it, whatever. Just as an aside, I spent 1.5 years in Singapore working on an intelligence project on exactly this issue. How do you get senior leaders, chiefs of police, ministers, prime ministers, premiers, to listen to intelligence when it runs directly contrary to their dearly held beliefs. And I will suggest to you the power of political correctness is so powerful, and it is so entrenched in Canada, that you can literally show them physical evidence and they will find a way to ignore it, to justify it, to accept it, or to explain away why it's too difficult, or to say, well, that's a problem, but we have a bigger problem down the road.
Who needs special powers? The politicians. They're the ones who want special powers naturally, because they're in the power game. And what they can get from Ottawa, they will have more in Charlottetown, in Quebec City, in Victoria, BC. That's the game of politics, power.
Of hatred, politics and greed. But I know I wasn't alone when I cried on the day Johnny Cash died. Yes, I know.
I remember Harper, when he was governor a few years ago. He was in an interview in Calgary, and he made plain that the federal government is a de facto government, which means it's an unlawful and illegal government.
One who cared, a heart that big, well, that's...
I'm just a frostbitten Canadian boy here to thin the thickness of your skin. Every Saturday night, 9 o'clock, Politically Speaking with Duke Willis, Facebook's only live multicam talk show. If this video
individuals can inspire, but it is the
doesn't kind of tighten the muscles in your throat, if this video doesn't make your lower lip quiver just a little bit, if it doesn't make your breath catch in your chest just a little bit, then you're a sad, cold-hearted motherfucker, and I don't want to know you.
They keep coming. Add one more name from Ontario and carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. I serve with distinction, no visions of glory. I serve without question, a personal gain. Seek no justification, it's not part of my story, and it offers no comfort to the ones who remain. Just carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love, there was never more. I took up my vocation. I was called by my nation without hesitation. My answer I gave. Now I'm not wondering the things that I might have been. I know consolation in the forgotten rain. So carry me home down the highway of heroes. People above with the flags flying low. Carry me softly down the highway of heroes. True patriot love.
Hi, everybody. How you doing tonight? Hope everybody had a good Saturday. It was a gorgeous day here in Niagara today. We were out protesting. Hope you got to watch some of my video this afternoon. I am just having a look here at Skype. I'm going to give Roger Landry a call. And we'll get Roger Landry on the line here. And then I'm going to add in Doug Force. Roger, are you there? I can barely hear you, sir. That's a little better.
Okay, I didn't do anything.
Oh, well, the audio just picked up. All right. I have my audience sitting there watching me on camera, and I'm going to add Doug Force in here. Now, I realize you won't be on cam. You don't like having your cam on, and that's fine. I think Doug will have his cam on. My cam won't come up on... Yep, there's Doug with his cam. Hi, Doug. How are you, sir? Can you hear us, Doug? Doug, can you hear us?
Yeah, about yourself this evening.
Ah, there you are. Is there a delay in the sound? You can hear us? Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. All right, let me get back over. Roger's here. He's not on cam, but he's here on the call. Roger, meet Doug, and I'm going to bring you guys into the show.
Hello, Doug. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, Rod. How about yourself?
Busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest, but managing to stand up anyway.
Well, you two guys have not met, so allow me to introduce you, so to speak. Roger, this is Doug Force. Doug is very instrumental here in Canada, working with a group of patriots towards establishing a sovereign de jure government. He has also been very active down in your neck of the woods in the U.S., and I'll let Doug tell you about his adventures with Bamboozled, the receding of the Republic. Doug, I think Roger would really get a kick out of your adventures there, and you can probably close off by filling him in about your little episode with Mike Phillip in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that was just this year.
Yeah. Bamboozled was a few years back.
We did a Merrimack Radio a couple of months ago with Mike Phillips, and he had me on for, I guess, about 20 minutes, and I decided I would, because we were going live out to Washington, D.C. at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday afternoon, I thought it might be interesting to teach the American people that they don't have to pay income tax if they use lawful money in the United States under Title 12 U.S.C. 411.
Go ahead. I love it. Go ahead.
And by the time we finished the show, Mike was fired. So
Yeah.
they really didn't have a good sense of ha-ha with teaching. It's legal, it's lawful, it's Title 12 U.S.C. 411, lawful money in the United States. If you don't want to use Federal Reserve notes, that's the remedy's there for you. If you don't use Federal Reserve notes, you still have to file your 1040 every year. But instead of paying money, you get it all back.
I gotta tell you just a little bit about that, okay? There have been several milestones in this country that absolutely shifted the entire society. These milestones are 1871, 1913. 1871, the United States was turned into a corporation, and our allegiance...
Actually, I'm going to stop you right there. 1871 was repealed in 1874. If you read the statutes law, if you read the statutes at large, 1874, the District of Columbia Organic Act was repealed. it was reenacted differently in 1878. So the one you're looking for is 1878.
No, actually, I agree with everything you said, and I'm aware of it. The thing of it is, having a conversation with you was already predicted by Duke. He kind of figured we're going to be finishing each other's sentences. We're going to be running down the exact same path, and I'm seeing this. I really am, and I'm loving it. I actually am. Okay, so again, that was
Thank
the
you,
first
Roger.
in my
I knew
eye.
I had a good mix with you two guys.
This is great. All right. So, again, we're talking about what I consider to be the two biggest points of treason by our government against we the people. The second one and the third one both occurred in 1913. And that's the Income Tax Act and the Federal Reserve Act. And here we go. It just turned, not only was it treason what was done originally in and modified, but originally in 1871. But in 1913, they turned the American people into serfs, into slaves. And so when you are saying what you are saying, and I'm getting this big smile that you can't see on my face, I totally understand where you're going. I really do. And I'd like you to continue because all you're going to do is spark things in my brain.
Well, where I saw, because Bamboozled, the Receding of the Republic was a documentary film that I was going to make in the U.S. until George Bush's White House decided that I was not somebody that should be doing business in the United States. So they asked me to leave very politely.
Yeah.
They were very nice about it. But it was absolutely certain that I was not wanted down there anymore, which is fine. I left. I was a nice guy. They were nice to me. I was nice to them.
You can be nice.
But I think the first, I would take it back to 1860, where Abraham Lincoln was elected president.
Yep.
And when the Confederacy left the Congress, and he left it open, he closed Congress, sine die, without day. Went on to sign the very first executive order ever in the American history, and it was the Liber Code, and that's what was the foundation for what you call 1871, and I'll call 1878.
Yep.
To move the jurisdiction from common law into admiralty maritime jurisdiction. By the way, your Constitution contains both jurisdictions, so they were constitutional government under the admiralty jurisdiction in 1878. But you're absolutely 100% correct. They committed treason by giving up the right to create money to a private bank. The Federal Reserve Act was an act of treason towards the American people. American people should not take this.
I would tell you also that on his deathbed, the president who was responsible for signing that act actually, while Congress was pretty much away, and there was a very limited amount of Congress in-house, because he absolutely knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that in a full Congress, the bill would never pass. So it was snuck in on us. And on his deathbed, he said this over and over again, how much he regrets literally selling the American people down the river.
Yeah. December 23rd, 1913, there were 9 members of Congress when the Federal Reserve Act passed.
See, nobody knows that. Nobody understands that. Okay?
Absolutely disgusting.
The same thing happened here in 1982. Nobody understands that Trudeau passed our treasonous Charter of Rights and Freedoms through a order in council. It never, ever got voted on by the Parliament. It was all done privately, just ramrodded through our government, the same way that happened in the U.S. They manipulated the system to benefit them.
Well, and it's funny, in the United States, they have to leave your remedy. So in 1933, 1934, they left remedy, and the remedy was Title 12 U.S.C. 411. But they also left remedy for U.S. citizens. If you didn't want to be a U.S. citizen, you could be a national, or a man or a woman under the Constitution. And to this day, you can still get what they call a national passport.
And you can still be, yes, basically a citizen of the original United States.
Well, what's funny is, and I say this to people all the time, they say, well, we're American citizens. I said, go read your Constitution. The Constitution does not confer citizenship. The first 3 words in the Constitution, we the people, are the sovereign.
Yes.
You can't be both. You can't be sovereign and a citizen. Citizenship is ownership by the government.
Once this basically became a corporation, okay, and for anybody who doesn't believe that, all right, that there is a corporate structure, let me ask you to please do something, all right? I would like you to go Google, all right, the corporate ship of the CDC, the FDA. Should I go on? Just about every single government agency is listed as a corporate entity. This is a fact. It's not a joke. Do you know why you don't know it? Because they're not allowed to teach that in school. Why aren't they allowed to teach that in school? Because Judy is pissed off right now as I am.
Absolutely.
Oh, Roger.
Well, here in Canada, all the courts, you go to court here in Canada, they're all registered as corporations.
Yeah.
We don't have courts of law. We have administrative offices for the bureaucracy of the corporation known as the Government of Canada, INC, and the various provinces, the province of Ontario, INC. All of our courts are just simply that, administrative offices. At least in the U.S., you can claim jurisdiction. In Canada, you can't.
All of the courts the federal courts in the United States owe allegiance to 10 square miles called Washington, D.C. They, again, as you so eloquently put and explained, okay, are supposed to practice under maritime law when, in fact, we were originally set up as a republic under common law. And to this day, most Americans believe that we enjoy common law, and nothing can be further from the truth. And when you ask a lawyer, okay, a member of the Bar Association, and one of these days, let's do a show just about the Bar Association, right? When you talk to a lawyer who is a member of the Bar Association, his allegiance is not to the organic United States of America. It is to 10 square miles of corporate Washington, D.C. End of story. So they do not work for us, just like the CDC doesn't work for us. They sell $4 billion worth of vaccines every year from Big Pharma. How much do you think Big Pharma loves them? What happens to a middle level to upper level CDC, FDA, EPA individual who decides to leave the government? Boy, he gets a 6-figure, sometimes 7-figure salary from a huge corporation that's been, buttering his palm for the last 10, 20 years? Absolutely. This is the world we live in.
Well, and it's changing, and that what's going on right now, what you're seeing on the global stage right now is the collapse of what we know as the empire of the United States. Yes. And the sad thing is that the founding fathers of the United States built what could have been the greatest accomplishment in human history, to have a republic form of government that was self-administering through the will of the people, through the individuals. And they usurped it to take what we're seeing today. The horrible part of all of this is that the other side of the world is going to, when the Federal Reserve note stops being a global reserve currency, Europe, Canada, the United States will collapse. The economies will collapse. But I don't think the rest of the world will notice, because as far as they're concerned, they will already have exited from this Ponzi scheme. And I've traveled all over the world, Africa, South America, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll tell you, my friend, they don't use U.S. dollars for Federal Reserve notes in their day-to-day. Everything is brought in to the markets, they're fresh markets. So if it collapses here in North America, you go to the food, go to your, what do you call it down there, Ralph's in the U.S. or Vaughn's or supermarkets. Those shelves will be empty, and they won't get filled. Months later, they'll still be empty. I lived in Lima, Peru for a couple of months, and they have shopping food stores down there, but most of it's open air farmers markets. So you never go hungry. Everything's fresh and it's not very expensive, and it uses the local currency. But the US dollar, and here in Canada especially, we import most of our fresh fruit and vegetables, meats, etc., come from other parts of the country here into Ontario, and we're in a big heap of trouble when we can't work with delivery systems.
I would tell you that everything in your scenario is accurate, with the exception of, is that inevitable? No, I don't think so. Can it happen? Yes, it can. And it's very, very likely that it could happen. I also think, and I have seen, and I am talking to people who know people who are actually involved in this, there has been rumors of this particular administration wanting to take us off the Federal Reserve note and put us back on a U.S. currency. What would that currency be based on? It can't be based on gold, because anybody who believes that we have all the gold that we claim we do is a freaking idiot, okay?
No kidding.
The thing of it is, what most people don't understand is that the most mineral and resource-rich spot on the entire planet, and I never say anything I'm not willing to back up, I don't challenge people to prove me wrong, I dare them to, is the United States. The amount of oil under, just the oil alone, under the southern Rockies is estimated at 3.5 to 5 trillion barrels of oil, more than 3 times as much in the entire Middle East combined. Why hasn't it been touched? It's basically because it's in shale, and it was too expensive. At this point, that can be extracted at less than $10 a barrel. Yep. We have that. We have iron ore. We have the richest farmland on the planet, okay? California is the 6th largest economy on the planet, and the vast majority of that is, guess what? The fresh food they grow. We have the ability to back a currency with resources out the yang. And I'm telling you, everything you said may just be the catalyst that pushes somebody with the balls to do it over the edge. Let's see if he'll do it, because I think he just may. And I'm already hearing rumors.
Well, and you know, I like the Donald. Okay, I was a fan of his in the '80s. I was in the real estate business back then myself, and so was he. And I was kind of a fan of his because The Art of the Deal. He wrote this wonderful book that I read, and I used to carry that around. And I thought, man, oh man, I like the Donald. I liked his wife. She was a smart lady. Gave him 3 beautiful children.
Yep.
And today I kind of look at him and I kind of think, boy, did he have to sell his soul, and he sold it to the wrong people, regrettably.
How many people out there, real quick, understand that one of his bankruptcies, he was rescued by, guess who? Who is the biggest name in Europe, the biggest name in money? The Rothschilds bailed him out. You tell me anybody is ever going to occupy the Oval Office in the United States of America if they haven't at least sold their soul to the devil on some level. And I'm going to tell you, hey, look, give me some of what you're smoking because it's obviously real good.
Yeah, oh boy.
I'm sorry. I get a little theatrical sometimes, but it makes the point stick. It does.
No, and you're the thing, and you look at what's going on globally now, and you kind of got to scratch your head. But they're the clowns beyond Mr. Trump. I don't know why he hired this Bolton character. But he's a clown on the world stage, and then you got this pompous ass Pompeo. People simply just ignore him. He shows up for meetings and they don't come.
You're talking. Look, you're talking about 2 of the biggest neocons on the planet. You're talking about 2 people who would drag us, and they've already got him most of the way there, into a major war which will absolutely ruin, okay, Europe and the Middle East if that war blows up in Iran. I'm telling you, this could be huge. And you've got these 2 idiots who you just mentioned all right, who are poking him, going, "I dare you to. God, come on. You haven't got the balls, Donald. Come on. You can do it." You know, this is where we're sitting right now. We're sitting on the precipice of World War III. Now, let me tell you why Trump feels he needs to go in and attack Iran. Because if he doesn't, the Iranians have claimed to the fact that the Israelis have stolen 1.5 trillion barrels of oil from them. And when they bust that out on the international courts, and at this point, there's a whole lot of pressure on Trump from Netanyahu to do something and do it quick.
Yeah.
How many people know that?
The funny thing is that there was an Iranian major general, I can't remember now, last week I was reading, and he was literally threatening to sink the USS Abraham Lincoln.
Part of the Straits?
Well, he was saying that they could sink it going through the Straits of Hormuz, but they have the ability to sink it sitting in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Oh, yeah.
The Chinese, don't forget that the Chinese were given the technology for the Sunburn missile that the Russians had created about 20 years ago. Now, it takes 2 Sunburns to bring down a supercarrier. The Chinese created a new missile based on Sunburn technology that takes 1 missile, and it doubled the range of that single missile, can take down a supercarrier and put it to the bottom of the ocean. And I thought, this is kind of funny because the Iranians are going to create a new submarine fleet for the U.S. Navy. It'll be over very quickly.
Okay.
The jets will take off and come back to just open ocean.
Let me tell you what I did before. And you've never met me before, and I've gotten a bit of who you are, and I really like this. Okay. I am somebody who worked for the military-industrial complex for almost 3 decades. I also traveled the world, over 1.5 million air miles, working on defense systems across the planet for the empire. And then about, 15 years ago, I decided to quit and start my own company. And about 2 years after that, I started looking around after being disconnected from the government for a couple of years. And I went, holy crap. And so I started the Liberty Beacon Project, which has, I think, today 8 or more proprietary global websites and online TV network. We are the largest totally unfunded, which means nobody can tell us what to say, online network that exists. It's the Liberty Beacon Project. I've got a mouth. I'm not afraid to say anything, and I will back it up. And I don't challenge you to prove me wrong. I freaking double dog dare you. What we're looking at right now across this planet, I have been on the other side for decades. I know how this crap works. Yeah. I know how these people think. And I'm looking at this going, we're either, right now, okay, as you say, we're either going to be another collapsed superpower that in 10 or 15 years, they're going to be thinking of us just like they think of Great Britain and England, which used to rule the world. And now, basically, most people think it's a joke, okay? Or Trump is going to step up with a bit of nads, and he's going to say, screw the Federal Reserve, we're going to an American currency, and we're going to base it on the largest resource accumulation on the planet. End of story. We don't have any other options unless you think we do. I don't think we do.
No, and Trump stands in a very unique position.
Yep.
Because of all this crap that has been going on for the last almost 20 years now with the U.S. After 9/11, and this whole idea, like you say, with the neocons and this unipolar world that they believe that everybody should kiss their ring. It's going to end.
Hey, you say ring, I say something else.
Well, we're on the air. We're being polite.
I just said something else. I didn't. Yeah. I agree.
And the problem is that now if I was Trump, I would sweep the neocons out of Washington completely as a good start. And then you start looking to open up the doors to a multipolar world. Become the peace bringer. But the military industrial complex doesn't want peace because they don't make money in peace. They make money in pieces. They bomb the crap out of a third world country, and then they get all the contracts to go and rebuild it.
Okay,
and then they bomb the crap out of it again. It's a broken window economics, and it doesn't work.
Can I jump in at this point? Because you
Absolutely.
just set me up so perfectly, and you've done that, time and time again. Let's go from where you started, okay, or about the middle of your discussion. Let's talk about the Middle East. Let's talk about the empire. Let's talk about the late 1990s and a plan to go in to 5 nations, literally take them down and install central Federal Reserve style banks in them. These included, Afghanistan. These included Iran. This included Iraq. This included Syria. Should I go on? Okay, to this date.
Libya as well. Don't forget Libya.
Right. Well, there's actually more than that. There's actually a couple of countries that are not in the Middle East, but I'm just going with this flow right now. So here we go. We've got this plan in the late 1990s to attack and literally take over corporately and, physically these nations. But you didn't have a catalyst. There wasn't a reason to do it. Oh my God, Osama bin Laden, we could just kiss you, couldn't we? Because what he did was he opened the door on a plan that had been in the making by these freaking neocons for a half a dozen years prior to its execution. And what was the only reason they could execute it successfully? 9/11. The American people, when I told you about treason committed against, we were going to get to this. That was the next one.
Yes, absolutely. Because 19 Arab terrorists making making plans out of caves in Afghanistan, I don't think that story floats very much.
All right. Let me take that one step further, because I wrote an article 3 years ago with images, pictures today, while they're a year old now, of 17 of the 19 terrorists alive and well in the world. Kicking.
Absolutely.
These are the ones that went down in the planes. These are the ones that crashed into the buildings. These are the ones that dove into the ground so deep into Pennsylvania they couldn't even find a plane. Just a bunch of scrap metal.
No, they actually didn't find scrap, but they did find the plane from Pennsylvania. It was in a hangar in an airport.
Yes. And nobody was on board because they had transferred them to a different plane. So we're talking, again, people listening to this right now, they're going to be going, these guys are either two of the craziest people on the planet, or man, this shit's bad. And guess what? We ain't crazy.
No, God, no. I always, people say, well, the Twin Towers, they were two. I say, well, wait a minute. Building 7 came 8 hours later, 47 stories fell into its own footprint, but it only had office fires. No planes hit it. Can you explain that, please? What? What's Building 7?
And the thing of it is, there are actually, and they were probably out for about 2 weeks, and then all of them got scrubbed from the internet. There were actually films that were frame by frame of a cruise missile striking the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Not a plane, a cruise missile striking the Pentagon.
And I have footage of Building 7. You can see explosions going off inside the building through the windows as it collapses.
And they're saying that's air pressure. I got to tell you something. Air pressure, air pressure, I believe, will blow the windows out. But it's not going to blow the windows out with char black smoke.
Nope.
That doesn't make any sense.
I've got that video here on my computer. I could bring it up if I had a few minutes to go find it, but I'm not going to interrupt the show that way. You guys, gentlemen, I can't tell you, my audience is just loving this show. I'm going to shut up. The two of you, please keep going.
Let me ask you a question, my new friend, and I like the sound of that. We know what's going on in America. It's kind of hard not to, okay? Because the stupidity is so profound in the liberals and the progressives at this point that they are literally shooting themselves in the foot every day. They should all be walking around in casts and crutches. Okay, I would like your give me your opinion of where goes Canada today, because I'm looking north and I don't see the picture all that much prettier than what I'm seeing.
Regrettably not. I mean, we're
especially with that Candyman.
We're in worse. I doubt very much he'll be reelected in October.
No.
He's pretty much cornholed himself out of a job. He was a loose cannon on deck. The SNC Lavalin fiasco blew up on him, and he didn't shut his mouth when he was supposed to. He was told to shut up and say nothing, and he went up. He allowed the woman to go public about it, and then he responded to her, and it blew him up. They moved away from him very quickly. They're now supporting Scheer and this other fellow out of Quebec. What's his name? Maxime. That's the woman's name. I mistaken. I thought it was a girl, but they call him Maxime Bernier.
Bernier.
Bernier. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. I look at Macron, and I look at your leader, and I got to tell you something. I swear to God, they're brothers from different mothers. These are two of the biggest liberal idiots ever to be put in charge of a country.
I call him Coconut Macaroon because he truly is one.
Yes. Yes, having lived in Hawaii and having had coconuts fall on my head, I did live in Hawaii.
Now just think, Roger. Just think how desperate Bernie Sanders would look if he didn't have Trudeau just to the north and be able to say, hey, I'm not that bad.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You had to say that on the air, because if he didn't know that, now he does. Look what you've done. And don't do that stuff.
Look, I love the Democratic. All these people throwing their hats to the ring. You got Hiawatha down there. She's running for president. You got Horizontal. What was her name? Horizontal. The black girl from San Francisco, or the black and white girl from San Francisco. Harris, Horizontal Harris.
Look, this is a circus. This is a huge circus.
Oh, it's a clown show. It's amazing.
It is. But what you need to consider at this point is that everything that has happened since the election of Donald Trump, which absolutely threw the entire Democratic Party for a freaking, they were swallowing their tongues. They were being rushed to the hospital with heart attacks. The whole 9 yards. All right. What we're looking at right now is a situation where Mueller turns his report in after 2.5 years, of beating the bush, knowing there was absolutely nothing out there. And he has to finally say there's absolutely nothing out there. So what do the Democrats do? We can't possibly let Trump recoup. We can't possibly let up the pressure. We're coming up on an election. So what do? They say, screw the Mueller report. Mueller was a bad guy. We never should have backed him. We're going after, and they start the whole Russian thing over again. Now, hold on. I'm almost done. He is the president of the United States. If the premier, the president, whatever you want to call him, of Russia, wants to call him, it is his duty to speak for we the people. He did that the other day. Every single mainstream media newscaster opened up with how treasonous the president was being because he talked to Putin. Are you freaking kidding me?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, the best thing to happen to the Republican Party was that little girl from New York, AOC. I'm not kidding.
Guys, there was just a comment in the YouTube chat room that they used AOC as being used to make Bernie look normal.
Well, all right, this is where I was going with all of this. You've got the AOC, okay? You've got the Maxine Waters, all right? You've got the Feinsteins.
Mad Max.
You've got the Feinsteins. You've got, and I could go on and on. And
you mean the pretty pig?
Each and every one of these is beating the same drum. Trump broke the Constitution. Trump committed treason. Trump, oh yeah, Trump needs to be impeached, and they're going to keep beating this drum. Except the biggest fault in their entire scenario is they don't understand how many Americans over the last 2.5 years and the injustice done to Trump, whether you like him or not, how many Americans have actually woken up? The chance of a Democrat getting elected president in the United States in 2020, I'm going to tell you something right now. If one does, I'm going to invite you both to the United States. We're going to go into the middle of New York City. I'm going to bare my butt in the middle of Broadway, okay, and let you both kick it and sell tickets too.
Well, Roger, that was going to be one of my questions to both of you. Will the United States make it to 2020 without civil war, without outright violence on the streets?
You're a little late for that one. There has been violence on the streets, and that has been funded by the likes of the Soros groups. Okay, Open.org and other organizations that are funded by these liberal elitists, and who backs Soros so that he has an infinite amount of money? Of course, that would be the Rothschilds. So, infinite amount of money coming into politics in this country. We have seen violence. The question is, where have you seen the violence coming from? 99.9% of the time, it was coming from a progressive or democratic position. And the other 1 to 1.5% of the time, when the conservatives were actually involved in mayhem, it was to defend themselves. And I got to tell you something, most of these bikers in America, they are conservatives. And when you mess with them, they defend themselves. Do I think we're going to have civil war? No, I don't. Do I think that if there's even the smallest suspicion that the election is stolen from Trump, you will see civil war.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. There's a lot of talk going around that the left is going to do everything it can to avoid Trump getting reelected with an even larger landslide than the last time.
I agree. That's what we're preparing for. That's what the Liberty Beacon Project is for. We are here to make sure that we, the people, understand everything, or as much as we can possibly feed to them. Because, let me explain something to you. A well-informed nation can never be overtaken by tyranny. End of story.
True.
That's a fact. And every nation that has fallen to tyranny throughout history, every single one of them was either due to apathy, complacency, or ignorance, not stupidity, ignorance of the society that allowed it. So this is where we sit. Great question, Duke. Thanks.
Well, the beautiful part of this is that if it will be a very short civil war, considering that the gun grabbers have no guns and the patriots that will defend the Constitution are very well armed.
Oh, wait, hold on. I apologize. Just let me jump in. You did it again. Okay. All right. How many guns are in private hands in the United States? Oh, between 300 and 500 million, it's estimated. That's more guns than in any standing army on the planet. Yeah. These liberals, if they want to start a civil war, you hit the nail right on the head. It ain't going to last very long.
There's enough Ted Nugents in the USA that there ain't going to be much of a leftist uprising. Much like this picture that I've got of a cowboy walking with chaps on and a cowboy hat walking through this dust cloud. The caption of the picture says, "Welcome to the West. We're going to have us a real fun game of cowboy and leftist."
Oh, yeah, you gotta love it. You do. Look, I keep saying this over and over again, and I will say it again. We live in one of the most exciting times in modern history. It just depends on whether you define exciting as safe, prosperous, healthy. I don't know. But yes, exciting. Just how do you define exciting?
No, it's a unique. We live in a unique time in history because we will make history here, one way or the other.
So will Trump. He's in the right place at the right time. If he really screws up, he makes history. If he really does good, he makes history.
Exactly.
One way or another, he's going in the history books as one of the most memorable modern day presidents.
Well, and we're lucky to be around. This could have really broken down badly if it wasn't for Boris Yeltsin back in the late 90s, giving Vladimir Putin his job. And that time, nobody ever heard of Vladimir Putin on the world stage. Nobody ever heard of him. They thought, oh, he's going to be just as big of a pushover as Boris Yeltsin.
He was a KGB major, so he wasn't stupid.
Well, but he worked in the KGB. His whole career in the KGB was in the Berlin embassy as a diplomat.
Yep.
So that's why you see him with the patience of, my God, who has more patience than anybody. He's an amazing man to watch on the world stage with his diplomacy.
He's an amazing man to watch riding a grizzly bear and bareback on a huge stallion, and I don't know. I think they got one of him riding a bull elephant with no shirt on. Yeah. We got the picture. But the thing of it is here, I grew up and you grew up in an era where the Soviet Union could have been our death at any time. We did duck and cover under our desks in school when the alarms went off in case, not that they wouldn't have done us any good if a nuclear bomb would have fallen on the city. Hiding under your desk isn't going to help. But the point is, we lived in a society where we didn't know if tomorrow was going to exist. And we lived that way for such a long period of time that once it subsided and went away, we totally took that for granted. If the same people were running Russia today that were running the Soviet Union at the peak of the Cold War, World War III would be long over.
Oh yeah, that's the point. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. Is that without Putin being the way he is, he's nobody to be messed with. But he's also very, very patient to allow you to make your own mistakes, and then he will take care of you after that.
Yes. He will capitalize on those mistakes. Maybe. And the thing about it is, you see it in Syria, okay? The United States goes in and does something under the Obama administration, go in and do something, and then about 12 hours later, he steps into the vacuum. The United States looks like a total freaking ass. He steps into the vacuum, cleans up after the United States, and the world says, look at what Putin did again. Okay?
He did the same thing in Venezuela last month.
Yeah, I am not a huge Putin fan, but I admire him. I am not an enemy of the Russian people. I was an enemy of the Soviet people, but I'm not an enemy of the Russian people. Yet, if I say that, somebody in that chat room, even if they don't say it, is probably going to be thinking he's a Rusky lover. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just don't want my grandchildren living in a nuclear freaking fallout destroyed planet. I just don't. We're past those days. We need to be. We have the ability right now. Remember what I did for a living? Oh, you talked about submarines before. I also spent 8 years in the United States nuclear submarine fleet as a sonar technician. So
you're a submariner. Cool.
Sonar technician. I was the guy telling the captain when the enemy was coming down our throat. So, all of this stuff, when you put it all together, we're well past the point where anybody can win a major war. If a global war starts, you will see between 50 and 80% of the global population go away.
Yep. Yeah. They have weapons out there that make things like missiles redundant.
Well, I got to tell you, when you talk about putting 20,000, all right, and I'm not exaggerating, 20,000 satellites in orbit for the 5G system all across when all is said and done, and all of these have the ability to beam a focused microwave, you have a great communication system, but you also have a system orbiting the planet that can screw up anybody who decides to mess with you, and screw them up really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anybody
5G,
who doesn't understand this is an idiot.
Yeah, 5G is a worldwide network of weapons. That's all it is. It's hidden and masqueraded as a cellular service. You'll have the best cell phone service ever. But the secret behind it is that it's a worldwide orbiting weapon.
It's not going to be, as far as I'm concerned, the best coverage ever, for the very simple reason it's 5 gig instead of 4 gig, okay? Let's just use that as an example, all right? A higher frequency propagates less because it just, all of its energy gets dissipated much quicker because it's cycling much faster. That's what frequency means, how fast it cycles.
Yeah.
All right. So when you go from 4G to 5G, you need a hell of a lot more antennas out there transmitting. So if I'm out in the middle of Arizona, okay, tell me how good my reception's going to be if 5G only has half the range that 4G does, so they need 2 to 3 times as many antennas. Now, if I'm in the city, great for me. If I live out in the country, I'm pretty much screwed. So, you know, again, it's not everything they're even banging it up to be. But did you also know that there are American doctors, German doctors, Japanese doctors, Canadian doctors standing on the pulpit with their megaphone screaming at the top of their lungs, 5G will commit genocide on humanity? Did you know it's already making our children in schools infertile? Did you know that if your children go from K to 12, they all have Wi-Fi, okay, that 50% of all of the females who graduate from those schools are infertile? 57% of all of our female children who graduate from schools with Wi-Fi are sterile. And something like 23% of the males. It doesn't quite affect them, I don't know, as much, but the fact here is you could have all the men good and fertile. If the women ain't, you're screwed.
There ain't no future population.
So this is what we're seeing. Now imagine that being beamed down on the entire globe 24/7. It might not make you infertile in a day or a week or a month or a year, but what happens when it's been running for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years? There are scientists saying this will be genocidal.
Doesn't surprise me.
Nope, doesn't surprise me either.
Their whole idea, the eugenics under Agenda 21, 2030, is to bring the population down to 500 million.
Why? To keep it in tune. To keep it in tune with nature, Mother Nature, right? And when you tell people that, they tell you you're crazy. You're a tinfoil hat dude. And I just say 3 words, and it shuts them up. Georgia Guidestones.
Yep.
Because what you and I just said is chiseled in granite in a multi-million-dollar freaking huge sign for everybody to see.
Barry,
set up by the elitists.
Roger, I have a message from the Facebook chat room from Barry Prince. He says to me, Duke, please tell Roger that I called him a Russian spy.
For anybody who doesn't know who Barry Prince is, you've been hiding under a rock. Barry is a very good friend of the Liberty Beacon Project. He is a Canadian, he is a patriot, and he is a great friend of mine, and that was a joke.
Yes,
Please
I know.
type
Barry,
back to Barry. Thank you, Barry. Thank you. I needed to smile.
Barry's
And-
been on my show many times, and he told me that you're on his show tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've been on his show a couple times. He's been on my show numerous times.
I've been on Barry's show with you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's true. You have, yeah. And you and Barry have been on my show.
Yes, we have.
Which is how I knew you and Doug would get along tonight so well. I'm so glad, gentlemen. This show has been amazing. Roger, I know you have a tight time schedule, and you only have an hour for us tonight. We've been about an hour. So before you have to run off, I really want to thank you for this conversation tonight. I know, I can tell by his voice and the look on his face that Doug has been enjoying himself talking with you tonight. And I just want to thank you for your time, Roger.
Doug, it's not the last time we're going to talk because I'll get together with Duke and we'll figure something out. But I do have a network as well, and you would be welcome to do some of our shows with us. But we just might have to invite Duke in on that call as well.
Sure.
That would be cool. All right, guys.
I'd love to.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed meeting you, sir, and I wish you both a very pleasant evening. When I get a chance to talk like this, I haven't smiled all day. I'm smiling now.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Bye, guys. I'm out of here.
Bye, Roger. Thank you for a great hour, sir. Good night. Be safe.
Thank you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Landry from the Liberty Beacon Network. Doug, thank you so much, sir. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Duke, for having me.
So what do you think of Roger? Not your average run-of-the-mill.
I'd say he's extremely well informed and probably very, very dangerous. Anybody with that kind of knowledge base can be extremely dangerous to the powers that be.
Which is why I figured you and he might have a whole lot of fun in this conversation tonight. And I'm glad the evening worked out as well as it did. So how are things going with you and The Myth is Canada? What's the status of the DVD production?
Oh, those they're in edit right now. Chris is finishing up the edit. I'll go in. I'm heading down to that channel on Tuesday. I'll find out when they should be ready. He tells me possibly later this week. And once they're done, then I'll let everybody know. They'll be available. We have the new swag page is up and running now. So people who want to buy the T-shirts and the hats and so forth, they're available for you at The Myth is Canada. If you touch on the donation tag on the upper right-hand corner of the entry page, it'll drop down and it'll say swag, and you just touch that and you can go. We have red T-shirts, black T-shirts, black caps, stickers, etc. And we'll put the DVDs up there once they're ready as well. So lots and lots of good stuff happening.
Cool, right on.
Yeah.
Well, I know you've been busy because we haven't had many phone calls this week.
Well, I actually decided I'd write a short film screenplay.
Because you don't have enough else to do.
Yeah, well, I had a little time on my hands, so I pounded
Ladies
out
and
a
gentlemen, I'd like you to meet
30-page
Mr. Doug
screenplay.
Force, the workaholic.
It's fun. So I mean, I have a friend. He's a very famous actor here in Canada, and he wanted to take a shot at directing. So I created a project for him.
Right on.
Well, hey, we all work together.
That's what it's all about. And besides,
Absolutely.
you get to have fun doing it.
I do. That's the most enjoyable part of this. We're cruising along. I don't know where it's going to take us, but I know we're on the road. I'm hoping that we'll get the documentary done this year. I can't predict when that's going to happen because we're still trying to raise the money to do that project. That's a little more expensive than a no-budget short film.
Well, I have, before I let you go, I have a question for you from the Facebook chat. Scott Rayner is asking, Doug, can you give us your thoughts on the gun ban issue?
Well, I actually saw the young gentleman from out, he does a show in Vancouver, used to do a show in Vancouver. I saw his YouTube video today about that, and it's, what they're saying is that, and he had a gentleman on who is a gun rights activist here in Canada, and he really believes that it's nothing more than a rumor, being that it's an election year. They throw these things out there to see what the waters are like. Will Trudeau actually do it? I don't think so. I think that if he did do it, I think that would be the end of the Liberal Party in Canada forever. I mean, I don't think they would ever elect anybody to the federal Liberals. It would be their demise. But I think I agree with the guy, the gentleman was interviewing, that it's more of, let's toss some bait in the water and see what happens, being that it is an election year. So I wouldn't really worry too much about it. Then again, he could be wrong, and hence I would be wrong. But it's not. It just doesn't seem like something. There's no planning in it. Like it hadn't been really thought through. It seems like it's just what I said is it's like chumming the water just to see what happens.
Just testing the waters to see what it's like.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Canadians are concerned because it's, typical communist take everybody's guns away, right?
Well, and the problem that they have to do a massive confiscation like that is that a lot of gun owners that go hunting, they go fishing, they enjoy shooting, et cetera, are the very police officers that would have to come and do the confiscation. And they would have to confiscate their own guns.
Yep.
And somehow I don't see that happening, especially in the Western provinces. Not so much in Southern Ontario, but in the Western provinces and Northern Ontario, boy, oh boy, there's a lot of people involved in shooting, sport shooting, as well as hunting. And it would, it becomes silly at a certain point. And I think it's more done to stir the waters or chum the waters to get people talking about stuff that they don't want people paying attention to what they're doing in the other stuff. And if people think that they're going to do gun confiscation, then that starts churning the waters, and then SNC-Lavalin falls off the table and nobody's talking about it anymore. Or whatever the libtards are put their foot in their mouth again,
Sorry, I'm just sending a note here to the YouTube chat room. Actually, I don't need to type it, I'll just mention it. Flat Forest is asking, how does one start a constitutional convention? Flat Forest, step number 1, you reach out to me via email at CanadianTruthers@gmail.com, and we'll talk about things there privately outside of social media, okay? So that's CanadianTruthers@gmail.com. All right, just send me an email and I'll get back to you there probably tomorrow or the day after you send it to me. Now, finally found in the YouTube chat way back when Roger was on, asked a question, and I messaged him back then that he needs to ask us in a little while when we were doing this part of the show, question and answers. And I said, ask me your question again, because I forget what it was, and he hasn't come back with the question. It was a good question earlier, just it was sort of off topic, and you and Roger were busy in a conversation. I didn't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation.
He was a lot of fun. We only, and being the first conversation that we've had, I mean, I didn't get into the whole bamboozled, the reseating of the Republic. and the information that we could have really delved into there.
Yeah. And he only had an hour, so.
Well, exactly. And maybe he wants me on his show because I can fill 2 hours just talking on that alone.
Roger, you heard him, Doug. He wants you on his show, the both of us. He'd
Cool.
have both of us on. But yeah, I know that he just got a taste of your mind. And yeah, he's going to have you come on his show, and he's going to pick your brain and use a Canadian to say things that Americans can't.
Well, it's a good thing he's self-funded, because I don't need to get yet somebody else fired from the radio. Oh God, that was funny. I hope Mike's landed on his feet. I haven't spoken to him in a month or month and a half or so. I know he was supposed to get on a English radio show.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's come through or not. I have a question for you here. Actually, Ed Jamnisek is asking me a question. He says, you mentioned a constitution needs to be ratified by all participants. What happens when a few Antifas join? They have to deal with the people in the committee. So, like, let's just take as an example, a committee of people are meeting in Hamilton, okay? And there's 35 people in this Hamilton committee. And they're all sitting down and they're discussing and debating and working out the details of the clauses in a constitution. That's the ratification process. And if, say, 2 or 3 of the members of that committee completely argue against 2 points, it's up to the other members in the committee to either convince them to change their minds or convince them to leave the committee. It's no different than organizing your local Lions club or your Kinsman club. If you've got somebody who says, no, that's not what the Kinsmen of Petawawa are going to do, then you have to tell them, hey, this is what the rest of us are doing. You can go over there and do your thing. This is what the committee's doing. It's how a committee works. A committee doesn't cave to one member.
Well, they can't, and it really comes down to, it's very democratic when you do the constitutional conventions. Clauses are put forward, they're voted on, and they pick out what the majority would be, whether it's 50% or 60% or 70% vote in favor, then the clause passes and it stays in. Don't forget that the American Constitution, when it was first finished, it was a locked document, and they went to send it out to the people to be ratified, and the people declined it. In other words, they wouldn't ratify it, so they had to bring it back into Philadelphia, and they added the 10 amendments. The Bill of Rights was part of the 10 amendments to the Constitution. When those amendments were then put into the Constitution and then put back out to the 13 original states that passed, and their Constitution had to pass by a 75% or greater vote. Within the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, putting these clauses in and voting on them, I believe it was 75% of the people within that also, they needed that to pass to have these clauses put in. And they took their time to do it. Don't forget, they didn't have what we have today with cell phone technology, with the internet, with computers, et cetera, et cetera. They literally locked the door and went at it for hours and hours and days and days and days until they finally came up with something that they thought was passable to the people. And so today we could actually have a constitutional convention for the entirety of Ontario with everybody connected in Ontario to that constitutional convention. We could actually ratify a constitution in literally less than 30 days. Yep. Through the technology that we have with blockchain technology today and apps on cell phones, et cetera, each clause could be ratified by the will of the people, all of the people in Ontario. They would all participate. So we don't necessarily need to hold a bunch of constitutional conventions. What we need to hold today is constitutional committees explaining to the people why they need a constitutional convention and the history of why we've gotten to where we are today and how we can take it back and put the power back in our own hands. And that's what's more important than anything else about setting up a constitution. I explained to a couple of gentlemen that I was working with out in Alberta that you can't put the cart in front of the horse. You want to make a constitution, that's nice that you make an example of a constitution, but if you don't have the will of the people behind you, you have nothing. You fail at what you're doing. So the whole idea of, that's what we do at The Myth, is we're all about educate, educate, educate. Explain to people what happened. Then they can come to the decision, oh my God, if that's what happened, then this is what we need to do. And if this is what we need to do, then we need to get on it.
Well, I've been telling people that all along, is that we're not at the stage yet where we can expect people to sit down and ratify a constitution. We need to continue being Paul Revere, but on a much more specific message sort of technique. Rather than just screaming, the British are coming, we need to be telling people this particular general is coming. To put it in terms of a Paul Revere sort of scenario.
Yeah.
We need to continue waking people up. Right now, we'd wind up having a constitutional convention in the province of Alberta with 10, 15, 20 people. That doesn't represent the province.
Well, and you know, there's this other group that's similar to this other group on Facebook called De Jure Canada, the Real Deal. This other group is just just without the real deal. I'm not going to mention names.
Yeah.
But I think they have 800 or 900 followers in 32 million people in Canada. And yet they believe that at some point in June, they're going to take over. They're going to actually commit mutiny. That fellow that was arrested, remember him? That was going to go arrest
the
citizen
Prime
arrest
Minister,
Trudeau?
Tim Kaiser or something like that, yeah.
Well, you know why he was arrested, right?
Well, because he's breaking the law.
Well, what law was he breaking?
Well, first of all, we don't have a citizen's arrest clause.
No.
You can't arrest me. I can't arrest you. I can't arrest anybody. You can't arrest anybody.
What happens when you attack the captain of a ship?
It's called mutiny.
There you go. That's what he was charged with.
So I have a question for you from the YouTube chat room. Duke, please ask Doug his thoughts on the late James Traficant.
He's an interesting fellow. We're going back many, many years now, and my memory has been will be not as good as it used to be. But I thought what he was saying at that time because he was a member of Congress, I thought he was a very brave man to actually be exposing what he exposed. And it didn't surprise me that they wound up killing him.
You figure that's what happened?
Oh, absolutely.
You figure they did him in?
At the end of the day, you can only, especially in the U.S., when you open the door and you're blatant about what they're doing down there. Ron Paul has been doing what he's doing, but if you watch Ron Paul speak, he's very guarded in what he says, and Mr. Traficant wasn't. Traficant basically, and I'm going to use this term, he pissed on the entire front row of the audience, and didn't say it was raining on him. He actually told him, I'm pissing on you for a reason, because you're a bunch of lying sacks, and I'm going to expose you for what you are. And he went after the Federal Reserve, and he went after income tax. And that's the lifeblood of the corporation known as the United States of America.
Yeah, just like Aaron Russo.
Well, Aaron, I actually had a chat with Aaron before he passed. I was introduced to him briefly. I was on a conference call with another person and him. Very nice man. I had just started to start promoting Bamboozle, the reseating of the Republic at that time. And he was interested in my project. And so we had a not a long chat. I think we talked for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. But he seemed like a very genuine person. He wasn't doing this. I guess he was dying of cancer at the time. And I'm thinking that, it was something that he wanted to leave behind, not just the movies that he'd done.
Yeah. Yeah, he did leave quite a legacy of movies that he made, which is how he, that's what he did for a living, right?
Oh, yeah.
And had a very famous wife.
Well, and she went on she was much younger than him as well. She was 20 years plus younger than he was, don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Doug.
But I mean,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, as a producer in Hollywood, you get the cream of the crop, so to speak, when it comes to who you want in your movies.
Yeah. Well, when you're a producer at the level that he was at, I could walk into Hollywood and tell them I'm a producer, and they'd say, "Who?"
And it's the same thing I do. I'm a producer of really? Who are you?
How come we don't know?
It's all about what have you done for me lately?
Yes, exactly. Have you greased my palm recently? Then I don't know you.
Well,
Doug, we're going to wrap things up, sir. Thank you for your evening. As always, it's been a pleasure.
A pleasure to be here, as per usual. I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you very much, Duke.
Well, thank you, Doug. Take care, buddy. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Yes.
Probably tomorrow, more than likely.
I don't know. What are you up to tomorrow? You're doing your other show tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night is my CPR, Canadian Patriot Report.
Well, that should be fun. Who you got on?
Nobody. I don't have anybody scheduled for tomorrow. Just me. I was going to maybe recap a little bit about what we talked about tonight, and probably talk to patriots about constitutional conventions and getting back out on the street and doing sidewalk protests. We got to keep waking up the people, and it's working. It's working. It really is.
Well, you seem to have fun this morning. I watched a little bit of your morning show. You were outside of that MP's offices.
Yes, outside of Chris Biddle's office. I always have fun doing our sidewalk protests, Doug. It's an amazing rush to hear the public responding and positively backing what you're doing and supporting you. It's what inspires me to keep going from week to week. You know the feeling.
I do. It's fun, and it gets me out of bed every morning.
It's almost intoxicating. It's almost addictive. I look forward to weekends when I get to go out and interact with people, just totally random people off the street. And 90% of them walk up to us or as they're driving by. But even today, we had people pulling over, parking their cars, getting out and coming and talking to us. While I did my video, Ron Devereaux spent a good 20 minutes or more talking with a 3-generation family that stopped to talk to us. Drove by, turned around, came back, parked their car, got out and came to talk to us. People are waking up out there, which is why I know this email program that I've got put together through Canadian Truthers is going to help get the word out and wake people up about the myth of is Canada. The myth is Canada.
Yeah, and it's important that because it's all about knowledge. It's what Roger was saying. They want ignorant people, and if you're ignorant, then you're not going to care. You worry about your football, your hockey, your cold beer, etc., etc. That's all well and good, and you can do all of that, but you also have to stay informed, civilly and politically. Anyway,
I firmly believe that pumping people through schools and just handing them a graduation diploma simply because they lived long enough to make it through high school, Whether they can read, write, or add 2 plus 2 doesn't matter. They survived high school and didn't commit suicide or get killed in a drunken car accident. Congratulations, here's your grade 12 diploma. Well, why are they doing that? Because they want people that can't read, that can't write. They want people that are stupid and uneducated and just obedient slaves.
That was George Carlin line.
George Carlin is a hero of mine. I miss the man. Doug, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to sign off with my audience a little bit early tonight because it's Saturday and it's been a long day. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We all appreciate it.
Likewise, thank you for yours.
Good night, Doug.
Good night.
There we go, folks. That's Doug Force and Roger Landry. Two amazing minds. Oh, I should have told Doug I'm going to have to message him. Roger sent some links on the Skype connection here, wielding the corporatocracy, wielding power over we the people, the Liberty Beacon. Folks, you really need to go check out thelibertybeacon.com, okay? Roger has amazing information on that site. You really need to go check it out. Let me see if I can bring this up. Why is this? Let's see here. There it is. Haha. Look at that. There we go. Now you can see the link that Roger sent via Skype. This is from the Liberty Beacon network. So just Google libertybeacon.com and it should come up, and go look for this story, the corporatocracy. Okay? Go check that out. Check out Liberty Beacon. And I will keep you posted should Doug Force and I wind up on the show with Roger. I will let you know. Sorry, folks, I keep missing posts in Facebook here. It's not scrolling for me for some reason. Canada, the artificial country. Yes, Brenda, that's pretty much an accurate definition right there. If you are ignorant, you are probably a leftist, Dave Delisle. That's a good one. I like that. The sheeple are led. Finally found is telling somebody named... I'd missed the first couple of comments here. But finally found is saying, smoke a joint and have some beer there, James, if you want a participation award. Well, finally, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my raw papers and go smoke a doobie. Why? Because it's 10:30 on a Saturday night. I've had a long day. You folks just got flooded with a whole bunch of information. I'm back in here tomorrow night. I hope you all go out and find thelibertybeacon.com. It's an amazing website. It's actually, like Roger was saying, he's got 7 other sites all linked together. You could spend 2 days just checking out all the stuff on his website. There's all kinds of information in there. All kinds of stuff. Things like Field McConnell and Abel Danger. Like Roger was talking about Building 7 from 9/11. The fact that, well, okay, I guess I shouldn't say the fact. The concept that the two towers were brought down by internal explosives. Roger's website goes into great detail about 9/11 and all kinds of other issues. You heard him talking about 5G. You should see the articles he's got on his website about the 5G network and what concentrated microwave beams can do to a human being from an orbiting satellite. All of that is on his website. I spend probably 3-4 hours a week just surfing through. As one computer is burning DVDs, my other computer is surfing websites, and Liberty Beacon is one that I check out at least once, usually twice a week, just to see what Roger's got up as his hot topics. Yes, Concerned Canadian says Building 6 is the true conspiracy. Building 7 was just as bad, dude. Just as bad. A red brick. Just, you can see. In fact, if you come watch the show tomorrow night, I'll find that video and play it on. If I can find it, I'll play it on tomorrow night's show. Okay? And you can see in the windows of this 7-story building, you can see the charges going off inside, and then it literally collapses down. It's like boom, 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 and the building folds down on top of itself. But yet it supposedly fell because of the jets hitting the towers. Dave Delisle says he'd like to hear his thoughts on Fort Mac. Dave, I'm guessing here that you're referring to Roger Landry. I'm going to tell you honestly, dude, I don't know how much Roger knows about Fort McMurray. If he knows that it's currently at about 22 to 24% Muslim population. Yes, Trenton, Building 7 was a controlled demolition. If I can find the video, I'll play it tomorrow night. Oh, Building 6 is the one that just the interior fell. Yes, I saw footage of that, and then they took it down. The footage disappeared. It was gone like within 72 hours of it first having come up. Dookie's having a doobie, says Phoebe. Yeah, I'm gonna be as soon as I log off this show. Dave, as I say, I honestly don't know how informed Roger would be with regards to Fort Mac. It's geographically a remote issue, even here in Canada. But his knowledge of it, because of it being such a remote geographic location and really not a topic being discussed openly by a lot of people here in Canada, I'm not sure what his knowledge level would be in regards to Fort McMurray. So, iffy. All right, folks, we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to say goodnight. It's just gone 10:30. That's not bad for me. An hour and a half show. Hey, I'm getting better. We're not pushing 2.5 to 3 hours. Nobody has numb bum tonight. You people should be happy. You can all go have a beer before 11. Yes, Concerned Canadian, Fort McMurray was deliberate. Guaranteed, absolute, unquestionable. It was deliberate fire. It was cleansing by fire. Dot, period, end of question. Okay, folks, as I say, we're going to wrap things up. I'm going to call it a night. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I did. I thought it was an amazing show. Those two guys We could have spent hours with those two minds exploring each other's boundaries and limits, because that's what you were watching. That was a mental joust between the brain that is Doug Force and the brain that is Roger Landry. Tonight, we sat and watched a jousting match between two very intellectual minds. And I personally had an amazing evening watching that conversation unfold. I hope you did too. Trust me, I will have a repeat performance of tonight's show in the very near future. We have Canada Day and July 4th U.S. Independence. I think that would be a good time to bring Doug and Roger back together for another show, closer to, say, the end of June, beginning of July, in around the 4th of July, July 1st, Canada Day. I think that would be a good time to bring those two minds back together on my show. Folks, thank you so much for spending your Saturday night with us. Please remember, I'm back in here tomorrow night, Sunday night, 9 o'clock, Canadian Patriot Report, right here at Facebook/Duke Willis and YouTube/Duke Willis. On Facebook, folks, don't send me a friend request. I've got so many of them, I can't keep up with the friend request accepting them. If you want to get notifications when I go live and that sort of thing, click follow. You get all the notifications of when I go live, when I post something. You get all those notifications by following me, and I don't have to go through a whole bunch of names to find your name and click accept friend request. There's probably 4,000 people on my friends list waiting for me to click accept friend request. And I just don't have the time to do it, folks. So please, I appreciate that you want to follow me on Facebook or stay up to date when I post things and when I go live. And that's why you want to be on my friends list. You can get those same notifications through following. So just click follow and follow me. That way you get all the notifications and I don't have to go through the hassle of digging your name out of the list and clicking approve or accept friend request. And over on YouTube, folks, hit the like button or the subscribe button, and that way you get all the notifications every time I go live. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, 9 o'clock, live on YouTube/Duke Willis. Once I get enough subscriptions, I got 770 or so right now. I need another 250 or 300 people to subscribe. I hit 1,000 subscribers. Then I can do live YouTube from my phone when I'm out doing a street protest. Right now, I can only do it live over Facebook. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, they unlock the remote live service, and I can go live on YouTube with my cell phone. So tell your friends, spread the word, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, okay? And ring the bell. There's a little bell icon there on the YouTube channel. Ring the bell. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, make my YouTube popular so that I get enough subscribers. I can go live, and you folks on YouTube will start getting my live feeds from our sidewalk protests. I need your support to be able to do that. I can't force YouTube to let me go live, what they call remote live. I can't force them to do that. I gotta get you people to hit the subscribe button. You gotta do it for me, okay? So tell your friends, spread the word, get people on my YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and get those numbers up there. I need 1,000 subscribers to be able to go remote live with my phone when I'm doing things like sidewalk protests. And Ron Devereaux and I are talking. He's got some people, where was he saying? He was telling me today. I think they're out London area. that they want some help to get things started out that way, doing sidewalk protests. So Ron and I are actually planning on doing some road trips this summer, going out and helping some other patriots get sidewalk protests started in their hometowns. I have some people up north of Vaughan, up in little town Bradford, not Brantford, Bradford, north of Canada's Wonderland, on the way to Barrie, little town of Bradford. I've got some people up in that area that want to start doing sidewalk protests, and I've talked to them about Ron and I coming out and helping them get started, giving them a couple of people to stand there with them the first time they're out, help show them how to make signs, that sort of thing. Once you go out and do this, folks, just find the courage, grow the balls, go out once and do a sidewalk protest. When you start hearing people honking their horns and they drive by giving you a thumbs up, okay, that feeling that you get, it's addictive. You're going to want to go back out the following weekend and the following weekend. You're going to. And people are responding. You hear it in my videos, those horn honks. We get people driving by yelling out, "Way to go!" Go do it in your hometown. Trust me, just get a magic marker, a piece of cardboard, make a sign, put on a yellow vest, and go stand on a street corner in your hometown. You don't need all kinds of people with you. Ron and I were the only two people out there for a year and a half. Weekend after weekend after weekend. But it's paid off. It's paid off. Ron's got like 70 people now on an email list. And if you watched my video today, you saw 6 other patriots that were out with us today. It's not a lot, but it's enough to raise awareness. You don't need millions of people blocking the street. And if you learn how to do things like put your signs up on telephone poles around the intersection that you're at, figure out how to use fixed things like maybe planter boxes, flower planters that they have set out, even bus stop shelters. You can tape a sign to the side of a bus stop shelter so traffic sees it as they're coming down the road. There's all kinds of things you can do like that to make 1 or 2 people have the same effect as 8 or 10 or 15 people. You can cover the whole area in signs that you don't need people to hold up. But that's tomorrow night's show. Folks, we're out of here. Take care. Thank you so much again for spending your Saturday night with me. And I hope to see you tomorrow night on... excuse me. Tomorrow night on CPR, Canadian Patriot Report. Oh, goodness, I'm getting the dries. I'm talking so much. Take care, folks. Thank you so much for your evening with me. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who stick around, I'm going to play a short little clip after this video. I'm going to play a short little clip of my May DVD video that Doug Force just approved today. Stick around. Okay, so all I'm going to play here is just a few minutes of this, maybe 5-10 minutes of it. This is just the opening 5-10 minutes of my May DVD featuring Doug Force and The Myth is Canada.
Bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors. So help me God.
On my patio, there are only 2 rules. Rule number 1, there are no rules. Rule number 2, when in doubt, refer to rule number 1.
This is Gary Gnu, and the No Gnu's is Good Gnu Show. The only TV GNU's program guaranteed to contain no GNU's whatsoever.
I'm not always a sarcastic asshole. But when I am, you can be sure it's a Friday and we're on the patio.
Hey everybody, it's me, Hugh. It's Liquid Lunch. No co-host at the moment. Yaz is that cute conspiracy chick. She'll be here pretty soon. But in the meantime, we're going to have hopefully a serious conversation and yet entertaining and informative with Doug Force from Nephilim Films, who's making the film The Myth is Canada. And we had you on a couple weeks ago, Doug, and that was a great conversation. And it's been a a lot of people are watching that video we did and commenting on it and bringing information about it. Maybe you want to just give us a quick overview just to get started for people that may not have seen the previous video.
Well, we were speaking in generalities, really. We didn't get into any really tough, finite detail on what the movie is. We kind of, what did I say? We hit the tops of the mountains rather than dropping into the valleys.
Right.
But today, we're going to drop into a couple of those valleys, I hope. We'll have the time to do that.
And basically what we're saying is that, or what you're saying, through your research, is that Canada is not the country we have been told that it is. It may not be a country at all.
Correct.
I mean, people, South Park said they're not really a real country anyway, and now that's turning out to be true.
It is. Well, and I look at this year in Canada, we're celebrating 150 years of Confederation. 2017, the Royal Canadian Mint has produced all kinds of wonderful silver and gold coins celebrating our 150 years of Confederation. Yet, 1867 is what they point to for 150 years, the British North American Act. Except, the only problem is that the people that created the British North American Act in 1867, a gentleman by the name of Lord Thring, said specifically that it was not Articles of Confederation or a Constitution. It was specifically letters patent for the Governor General to sit in the corporation sole known as Canada. So
okay, well that's okay. Now corporation sole.
Oh,
okay.
I did leave you a little bit of a.
You give me a segue. Oh, letters patent.
Well, letters patent. What I've done here is I've given a definition for the people who may not understand what letters patent are.
Because we're talking
or
about
a corporation.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so this is like most people don't really have the background to understand exactly what these things mean or what they mean in law or why it's so important.
Well, exactly, and that's why I brought the definitions with me. So if people don't mind.
So the May video features Doug in 2 different interviews with Hugh Riley on thatchannel.com. I chose out of, I think, 5 different videos, I chose clips from 2 of them, which deal with some very specific issues. This is just one of the videos that I took clips from. This is an hour-long DVD that I'm going to be burning. Doug just gave me permission. The copyright releases are in an email coming to me tomorrow, so I'm covered on copyright. I'm going to start burning DVDs tomorrow. I have 550 DVDs sitting here waiting to be burned. So starting tomorrow, I will be burning DVDs and beginning of the week, mailing them out to all the people on my mailing list. 600, my daughter counted them for me the other day. 600 and, I think she said 18 people on the mailing list right now. So that's going to be 6,180 DVDs going out with this video. Starting next week.
As well as appointing royal commissions. So the reality here is, so letters patent were created by Lord Thring in 1867. And what were the letters patent called? They were called the British North American Act. They were given to the Governor General at that time, which is what he did. He brought them to Canada. And if you read the British North American Act, which we have up on our website, and I believe
well, we've got it
your
right
gentleman
here.
is.
We can maybe show at least that beginning of it.
What's interesting is that if you read it through, and I'm not telling everybody that they have to read it all thoroughly, but to read it through, it is actually a blueprint for government. It is the directions for the Governor General to create a government here in Canada that he controls 100%. So he creates the office of the Prime Minister, he'll create the Parliament itself, he'll create the Senate, etc., etc. And it's everything that they do has to have royal assent. All statutes that they pass must receive royal assent. What's royal assent? Well, that's passing it to the representative of the monarch to allow it to become law in Canada.
To the Governor General who signs it, or...
And if the Governor General doesn't...
All right, folks, there we go. We're going to wrap it up. Good night, everybody. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Gonna have to move, babe. I've done everything I can for you. You're gonna have to move, babe. I've done everything I can for you.
You're gonna have to tell your sister and your kids